Hey everybody, this is Darren Garman, and I am looking forward to spending some time talking to you about a question I get a lot. And the question is really this in some way, shape, or form, but I'm going to put it in this form to you now. Darren, what are your top 10 investments you've ever made? And the first one is my wife and family. I want to tell you why this is number one. And of course, I'm not going to tell you the reasons that you already know why it would be number one. You already know about that. So I'm not going to go into the obvious, but I want to mention a big, not so obvious thing about having a great foundation of wife and family for 3+ decades. Especially as a man, so much more power, so much more energy day in and day out, every single day when you've got this kind of foundation. Think of the energy drain or the lack of energy you have when you don't have. And by the way, it doesn't have to be wife, it can be husband and family and all that. But I can tell you from a foundational energy, getting to be able to execute on everything that's important to me. And that's not just business. Everything that's important to me foundationally starts with this, because this is what it's all about. Having that as the top investment in my world, easy choice. Took me half a second to think of it. If I wouldn't have this kind of investment, I wouldn't be near the kind of person in whatever area you want to talk about that I am, especially, getting to the age that I'm getting to. And by the way, I'm far from being done. I got a long, long way to go. Okay, number two investment, health. Okay, again, sounds a little bit obvious when I put it that way, but I'm just very lucky that I had, when I was young, an uncle. So I didn't grow up with a father, but I had an uncle that really took a fatherly role in my life. He showed me the benefits of health, working out, exercising, making my body better day after day. And I started that as a young man. It was probably, junior high school is when I discovered working out, exercising, lifting weights, cardio, running, track, you name it. And I've done everything in between when it comes to health, from bench press tournaments to marathons. Man, I've done almost all of it, and it's been a blast, and health has played a big key in all of that and where I am today. If I wouldn't have the kind of health that I've got, again, in a similar way to like wife and family, man, I would nearly not have what I've been able to have so far in my life, and what I'm looking forward to being involved in and having in my life. Okay, so number one, wife and family. Number two, health. Two huge investments. And by the way, if you were to make a pie here, these two would take up 80%. Everything else I'm going to tell you is the 20%. Okay, so these two right here, this is 80% of all of it right there. These two things. Okay, the other 20% are coming. So what does that kind of tell you in terms of priority in your world, in your life? Number three, books, tapes. Yeah, I'm using the word tapes. Audios. I say tapes because I spent many, many years driving around listening to 8-track tapes. Some of you know what that is, many of you don't. Cassette tapes, okay, and reading books. And so if you fast forward to today, I'm processing and reading at least 3 to 4 books a month. And on top of that, I'm listening to at least 1 or 2 audiobooks at the same time. Some months I might get through 2, some months I might get through 6. That's just kind of the way it goes. But I'm constantly doing this, and I'm constantly learning, getting new ideas, expanding my horizons on not only what's possible, but what the potentials are for all of the areas of my life. I'm consistently curious in using this as a huge lever to continue to allow me to grow and expand. And so I'll invest in this all day long, and I'll invest in this probably until the day I die. Number 4, I invest in pulling the trigger. I invest in taking action. I invest in taking risk. Now, I'm not saying crazy risk. I'm not saying crazy action, but I'm constantly pulling the trigger and taking action on things. Okay, rarely do I get an idea and sit around and think about it for 3 weeks and process it for another 2 weeks and whiteboard it for another 4 weeks. No, man, I'm like on it, boom, moving forward, going. Okay. And by the way, sometimes when I do that, the things not work out. Sometimes do I make a mess? Sometimes do I get in trouble and make mistakes? Hell yeah, 100%. But a lot of the times it comes back to me in terms of progress. And I'm not just talking business stuff here, guys. I'm talking all the other areas that are important in our lives too. I pull the frickin' trigger all the time. Okay, all right, that's number 4. Number 5, and that is building my network of people. Network. Building my network. So I wrote a book a few years ago. The title of it is Inner Circle. And the concept of that book, I recommend you get it, by the way. The concept of that book is the ability to fast forward your progress personally and financially based on the people that you surround yourself with. You do become just like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Okay, so if you're at the bar drinking, burping and farting all the time, okay, you're going to have a life that looks like you are burping and farting all the time and you're hanging out at the bar. Okay, that's an extreme example, but that's exactly the way it is. The peer pressure we feel, the energy that comes to us and through us from the people that we consistently hang out with and we network with is unbelievable in terms of how you turn out and how people you care about and love turn out as an extension of that. Okay, so network, so important to continue to consciously think about. Who am I spending time with? Who is serving me? Who is not serving me? What am I doing that's not serving me? Who am I spending time with and having conversations with that I shouldn't be? But maybe I feel obligated to, or maybe I feel that pressure to, right? This is huge. This is huge. And one of the best investments I've ever made is I continually ask myself about my network. Now, here's what will happen when you do this. Your network shrinks dramatically. Okay, my wife and my kids and some of my friends make fun of me because they basically say, Darren, you don't really have a lot of friends. I mean, you got like a handful of friends as far as we know. You really don't have a lot of friends. Well, that's kind of what happens when you take this proactive way of building your network. Okay, so there's always a difference between friends that you can have that real connective conversation with and acquaintances. I got millions of acquaintances. I got few friends. Okay, few friends. And it all comes back to your network. Number 6 best investment is being uncomfortable. Why? Because what I found out decades ago is that if you want to make the kind of progress you potentially can make, it requires you to be what? Uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. Uncomfortable conversations. Uncomfortable situations. Uncomfortable environments. Uncomfortable traveling. I could go on and on and on. How being uncomfortable equates into unconventional progress in your life. Okay, so I purposely work on being uncomfortable. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't walk around with nails in my shoes. I don't lay on a bed of nails. I don't do that kind of stuff, right? But for example, I'm constantly doing things like cold plunging, okay? And there's health benefits to cold plunging and, they can talk about all, but what's the main reason I do it? Because it's freaking uncomfortable, all right? I want to keep working that uncomfortable muscle. So I will continue to do the things I don't want to do just because they're uncomfortable, because I know if I do that and I push through that discomfort, I'm going to make the kind of progress in any of those areas that I can potentially make. Number 7, and it's RE, real estate. Best investment I ever made is real estate. Best investment. Of course, that's where my world is. That's what my entire universe basically orbits around, is real estate. So obviously it's the best investment I've ever made. Okay. And it's funny because when you go through the progressions of making those investments from small to larger, to larger, to larger, it's really amazing how the progress continues in the investment real estate world to build upon itself, okay? Yes, real estate's a hard asset. Yes, real estate will probably always be in demand. Historically, it definitely has been. Yes, real estate is a great investment for tax savings, cash flow, appreciation, all those kinds of things. Obviously, there's a lot of that involved in it too. But in terms of having something that can really be a pinnacle of building your life around, real estate is the best investment I've ever made, okay? So, all right, that's number 7. Number 8 is people. I used to be a guy that worked totally alone, nobody. So when I first started in the real estate business, I started as a sales guy, so a real estate agent, and I specialized in selling apartment properties. I didn't have any staff, no assistant, nobody, just me. And boy, for so many years, I was so proud of that. For so many years, I don't need anybody. All these other, they can put up with the headaches of having employees. Those other people, they must be dumb. They must be stupid. Why would you put up with it? Why would you have to worry about comp plans and disability and workman's compensation and 401ks and health? And you see what I mean? I thought I was, a pretty smart guy, that I didn't have to worry about that. And then I discovered you eventually hit a wall, you hit a ceiling when you're trying to do everything yourself. You do. And it might take a few times of being punched in the face with that ceiling, so to speak, until you realize, yeah, I need people. I need people. And I can tell you, the more people I get involved in with what we do and how we've been doing it, the faster the progress we make in what we're doing. And that's not only, guys, just business, it's other areas as well. And I'm now total 180. The more people, the better. The more people we've got involved in what we're doing, the better. Of course, I always keep in mind the network part of this. Like I discussed, like the network part of this is huge, but we always want more people involved with us to help us grow, expand, and be to and get to the potential that we can. Number 9 is going to be a little obvious. Invest in myself. I'm always spending time, effort, energy, money on me, making me better, making me more knowledgeable, making me more fit, getting me more energy, getting me more expansion, getting me more information that I can use to become better and reaching potential in all of the areas that are important to me. I'm always investing in myself. And actually, you could argue this should actually be number 1. You could argue that because by virtue of investing in yourself, by extension, you're going to then look at investing in others and growing a family and taking care of your health and books. And you see what I mean? This could arguably be number 1 because of how important it is. Okay? Because of how important it is. So again, investing in myself. All right. So again, I told you I got the top 10 best investments I've ever made, and I've already hit you with 9 of them. Let's go to number 10 is legacy. When I look and I look at my life and I think about the people that have come here before me, people that were here 50 years ago, people in my family, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and what they had to do. Think about the conditions that people had to live just so you could be here. Just so you could be here, knowing what I'll call my forefathers, I'll use that term, my forefathers did, what they went through, okay? What they had to go through just to live and get through day after day. And a lot of it in order to make sure I show up, I owe it to them to be thinking about legacy. So that's going in the past, but you go into the future, and here's a thing that not a lot of people understand. What you do and the things that you do today, okay, will impact not only people around you today, but they'll impact the next generation, the generation after that, and the generation after that, okay? So guys, I think with legacy and the investing I've done in legacy, I think not only generations back, but I think generations forward. And how can I not only appreciate the impact up to now from past generations, but how can I impact future generations? What can I do to invest in those future generations being a lot better? And guys, this isn't just about money and maximizing income and wealth. That's not it. It's about how much better can they be, their kids, grandkids, their kids, etc. Okay? And when it all is investment that's not about you and it's about others, what a game changer. What a game changer in terms of giving you the kind of energy, the kind of enthusiasm every day, and the kind of outlook, okay, that when it comes to then taking this and combining the top 10, you can see why this is in the order of the top 10 investments in my world, the best investments I've made, right? So let's go over them again one more time. Number 1, wife and family. Again, number 2, health. 80% of all of this is right here, okay? Number 3, books, tapes, audios. Books, tapes, audios. Number 4, pulling the trigger, okay? Pulling the trigger. Number 5, my network. Number 6, being uncomfortable. Number 7, real estate, kind of an obvious thing. Number 8, people. Number 9, myself, investing in myself. And number 10, legacy. Guys, these are my top 10 best investments that I've made. I'm going on 60 years of age. It'll be interesting to see how will this list change, if at all, over the next 5 years in my world, 10 years. Is there anything on this list that you can take away from and start implementing in your world? Maybe it's your network. Okay, maybe you need to start being more uncomfortable and work on that. Maybe it's your health. Okay, maybe it's surrounding yourself with the right people, right? Is there anything in here that maybe you can extrapolate, implement, and use in your world that can make your world and make you and the people around you really get to that kind of potential that you really know and expect and would really look forward to reaching, okay? Look, if you've gotten some value out of Darren's top 10 best investments that he's made up until he's about 60 years old, go ahead and leave me a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Would like to continue that connection and continue our conversations. All right, we'll see you. Take care. Top 10. All right. Bye-bye.